Saturday morning on Power Talk 1460 and 101 FM, and I've got Luis Alvarez on the line with us. He's our tech expert, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group. Good morning, Luis.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Doing pretty good. First day of June and lots going on. A really busy month around the Monterey Bay area. We have the Wine Festival today and tomorrow in downtown Monterey at the Conference Center. We're going to be broadcasting there this morning. And then, let's see, also this weekend at the fairgrounds is the Castroville Artichoke Festival. And we'll be out there tomorrow.
So nice.
Yeah.
We will be out on the boat on Sunday. Hopefully, I'm going to pop on over to the Wine Festival today and then run over and do some maintenance since it's near the marina and then take the boat out tomorrow.
Very good. Well, hopefully the weather will be nice.
Yeah. Cross our fingers there.
Yeah, no June gloom. Anyway, we've been talking a lot about ransomware, and there's some more news on that front, particularly the ransomware that is victimizing government agencies, hospitals, and so forth, and businesses. And we've got some more information about that today that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah, we've talked in the past about Atlanta in particular, how they were hit with a very nasty ransomware attack that last year that to this day is still impacting them. And most recently, early in May, the city of Baltimore got hit with ransomware that also crippled their ability to just transact normal business as a city government. And the thing is, it's a self-inflicted wound in the sense that the ransomware variant that the bad guys are using turns out to be something that was stolen from the National Security Agency, the NSA, last year.
Do we know how it was stolen?
Well, therein lies the rub, right? The NSA is not known for being very public about things that happen within their organization. But going back to 2016, there was a group of hackers calling themselves shadow brokers,
right,
that claimed to have hacked into the NSA and stolen a bunch of cybersecurity tools, the things that the agency used against state actors and other bad guys to protect the United States, one would assume. And not only did they take the tools, they also managed to get their hands on a lot of operational intelligence. That is, how the tools were used, what the results were, and even the operators, the names of the folks that were working for the NSA using these tools. So it was a pretty bad hack, and there's been a number of conversations with Congress, obviously in secure environments, trying to explain to the congressional oversight folks of how it happened. But the bottom line is that now these tools that are out in the wild are being used by bad guys to take advantage of the United States. And it's starting to really have an impact as they hit these very high-profile targets like Atlanta and Baltimore.
Right. And it seems that hospitals are a particularly favorite target. Is that because they have so much data to be exploited?
Well, as a reminder, what ransomware does is it encrypts data so that it can't be used by the owners of that data until they pay a ransom to decrypt it. So the bad guys know that organizations like hospitals required by law to have access to patient information. So if they can encrypt all that information and the hospital has no other way of recovering other than paying the ransom, they will pay the ransom. Several hospitals have had to do that. And the sad thing is that the ransomware itself, the attacks, it's hard to prevent those. A lot of times they're done by users that click on links or click on attachments that then infest a network. But the reality is a lot of these ransomware tools that the NSA used were designed to exploit vulnerabilities in Windows operating systems that have since been patched. So it's just simply patching these PCs or upgrading them to off of XP and early versions of Windows 7 would have solved the problem. But the bad guys have figured out that these large organizations like city governments and hospitals aren't doing a really good job of patching, deploying security patches or updating their environments. So it's a target-rich environment for them.
And for better or for worse, the sad reality is that oftentimes these large organizations, primarily when we're dealing with government entities, this isn't their core competency. And it's oftentimes, for whatever reason, they're disinterested in this kind of stuff, because a lot, as you mentioned, a lot of times they'll use very outdated software programs that are really unpatchable because the problem they run into is to upgrade to something that is a modern software program for whatever the task is that the software is supposed to do would be a huge outlay, right, in the city budget. And so they keep using these old programs because they have other priorities as to how they're going to spend the taxpayers' money.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Taxpayers will scream at them if they don't patch a pothole, but nobody in the public really cares about the fact that you're running an unpatched Windows PC until something like this happens, which then impacts a city's ability to, provide services to their citizenry. And the reality is that this problem is going to get worse before it gets better, because cities are already grappling with all sorts of financial shortfalls, and they just aren't allocating the resources they need to do something like keep their systems up to date and prevent these kind of exposures.
Well, I understand that Baltimore is the latest city to be victimized by this, and so how are they handling it?
Well, they had the option to pay the ransom, which was around $100,000, but instead what they decided to do was go through the painful process of just recovering from it by restoring data from backups, reformatting and reinstalling operating systems on PCs, replacing PCs in some cases. And so rather than pay the $100,000 and be done with it, they've spent close to $20 million in less than a month to try to recover from this, and they're still nowhere near 100%. Yeah. A lot of the services just aren't available yet.
Yeah. But in reality, they're probably doing the right thing by just starting out new and fixing things so this doesn't happen to them again.
Exactly. And once you start paying the ransom, you become an even bigger target, not just for the organization or the group that hit you in the first place, but just the community at large of cyber criminals learns that you're an easy target and somebody that's willing to pay the ransom. So they're going to target you over and over and over again. So it's best not to do that and just go through the painful process of recovering, even though it's going to be much more expensive. Even the city of Atlanta has spent tens of millions of dollars trying to recover from their attack from last year, and they still feel that it's a better option than paying the ransom.
Do we have any situations with cities around here that have been hit, or have they been contacting the Alvarez Technology Group and upgrading?
Well, if they have, I couldn't tell you, mostly because in a lot of the cases, unless there's a public disclosure, you would have heard about it. Some of the things that happened, we're under confidentiality agreements to protect that information, and we honor that. But I can tell you that there have been incidences of ransomware hitting companies and organizations of all sorts on the Central Coast. In some cases, it was a simple recovery of just restoring from backup and no harm, no foul, which is the way it should be. And in other cases, it's required some more in-depth work. But if you take precautions, if you are diligent about keeping your systems patched, which is something that we do religiously for our clients, making sure that every security patch that's available is applied, and working with our clients to get rid of vulnerable systems that can't be patched, like older Windows 7 systems that come January of next year will no longer be supported, you're going to be in good shape. And just having good backups to restore the data that might have been encrypted, you'll be able to recover pretty quickly.
Boy, I have Windows 7 on my computer, and now I'm going to have to look at an upgrade here next year, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely get on Windows 10 sooner rather than later, because all the exploits that are out there for Windows 7 still exist, and there might be even more that are lying dormant, because the bad guys know that come January of next year, Microsoft's not going to be issuing any more patches, and then it's a wide open world for them.
What about Windows 8? Stay away from it?
Well, Windows 8 is still going to be supported and still going to be patched, but it's such a kludgy operating system compared to Windows 10. 10 really has been the new version of Windows 7, if you will. Microsoft always has this weird sense of they issue an operating system like a Windows XP, then the next one Vista sucks, and then the next one Windows 7 works. So then they come out with 8 and it sucks. So 10 is the new stable version of it. According to Microsoft, at least for now, they're saying that it's the last operating system that they're going to be creating. That going forward, it's just going to be continually patched and updating that version of Windows, so you don't have to worry about a Windows 12 or something down the road.
And when you go to an upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10, obviously you got to find out if the hardware on your computer will support that. But then do you have to go to 8 and then layer 10 over 8, or can you layer 10 over 7?
No, you can go right into Windows 10 over 7. And if you Google Windows Upgrade Assistant, you'll find that there's a tool that Microsoft has put out there that you can download, and it'll analyze your hardware and your software and tell you how ready you are for Windows 10. And if you're ready and you have the ability, because some PCs that came with Windows 10, folks decided to use Windows 7 for standardization or whatever. So if you're eligible for Windows 10, it'll tell you that, and it'll let you download it and install it.
And the other thing is that Microsoft has kind of pushed us off 7 faster than XP. I mean, XP had a tremendously long shelf life. And
it did.
And how many years has 7 been around now?
7's been around for about a little over a decade.
Oh, that long.
When you think about the first versions of it, but it took a long time to get popular. People just didn't want to let go of their XP.
Right.
So by the time, the same thing happened with Windows XP, where Microsoft said, okay, we're going to stop supporting it. And then people jumped onto Windows 7. And this is where Microsoft is saying, okay, we don't want to continue to patch an operating system that's full of holes and full of bugs. So we're going to make you go to Windows 10 or you're going to be left out.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to start doing that Windows Upgrade Assistant and see if my hardware, the laptop I have will take it.
There you go. I think you'll find that once you make the move, it's very similar to Windows 7. There's not a lot of new things to learn necessarily, but it's a much more secure operating system with security built into its core, and you'll be a lot happier. You sleep better at night knowing that you're going to be less targeted.
Is this a 64-bit or 32-bit system, or do they have both?
They have both. Yeah,
Okay.
64 and 32. So if you have a 32, it'll download the 32, and if you have a 64, it'll download the 64-bit version.
Sounds good. All right. Luis Alvarez has been with us today. He's CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, and if you need help with your networks at your business, you want to make sure everything's secure and you don't want to be the victim of ransomware, contact the Alvarez Technology Group today. It's alvareztg.com on the web. @AlvarezTG is the Twitter handle. They do tweet, and not as often as the resident at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but they do send
nowhere near that.
Nobody, I don't think anybody tweets that much. And the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.